Hi, my name's Justin Johnson.
And I'm Josiah Stowe.
And we are Dominion Wealth Strategists. We are created to put money in the hands of those that are sitting in the pews.
From budgeting to estate planning, savings accounts, retirement planning, life insurance, and a heck of a lot more here at Dominion.
That means that you are leaving an inheritance that passes multiple generations because that is the legacy. It's part of our mission.
All of Christ for all of life.
And all of finance for Christendom.
Comedy is therapy, why Christians need to laugh at themselves with Keith Foskey. Stick around. Exploring theology, doctrine, and all of the fascinating subjects in between, broadcasting from an undisclosed location, Dead Men Walking starts now. Well, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Dead Men Walking Podcast. I'm your host, Greg Moore. You can find out more about us at DMWpodcast.com or anywhere on the socials at Dead Men Walking Podcast. I did see there, I lifted up the Winem Dynam Romans Ninum Cup, and our guest today, Keith Foskey, lifted up. Is that a Chipotle cup I saw in the intro there?
That is a Chipotle cup. Very good eye, because that was only up for about 10 seconds or 2 seconds. So that's great.
Well, I do like me some Chipotle, but we're going to get right into it. Usually I kind of ramble a little bit, but want to get right to the guest. He's been on the podcast before. He's a good friend. He's a pastor, speaker, podcaster, your Calvinist, the one you love, the man, the myth, the legend, Keith Foskey. How are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty good, Greg. I'm glad to be on with you again. As always, you're such a good friend, and you have been one of my favorite just people to talk to about life and podcasting and our faith. So thank you for asking me to come on. It was great.
Awesome. And I will Venmo you that $50 for saying that after the show. So yeah, I want to talk to you because we're actually going to be together here in a little over a week at the Blue Collar Confessionalism Conference, which you are a speaker at. And when Foster, I almost called him Mike Foster. That's not it. That was an ex-congressman. Well, give me.
No, it's Michael. Michael.
It is Mike Foster. Yeah, Michael Foster.
Michael
I'm sorry. We had a congressman in Michigan named Michael Foster, and I went, "Wait, am I saying the right name?"
No,
yeah. When he told me the lineup,
you had me second guessing because I was like, his name is Michael Foster, right? I was like,
well, listen. The last thing we want to do is mess up the name of the guy who hosted and invited us to the conference, right? Sorry about that, Michael. Maybe that was it. Mike Foster was the congressman. Michael Foster, the pastor out of Cincinnati, said he's doing this conference again, invited me down to cover it with media. You're an invited speaker on a very prestigious list of other speakers. And I want to talk about your subject because it's comedy is therapy, why Christians need to laugh at themselves. And can I just say this before we get into it? I think you're like the perfect guy to do this because, and this is going to sound like a rehash to you, but for any new listeners, you've been on, you are very theologically sound, theologically rich. I hold you in high esteem when it comes to your opinions about the Bible, about doctrine, about exegesis, all those things. But you can be a pretty funny guy. You do stand-up comedy. You have a widely popular YouTube, TikTok, social media platforms that do comedy skits, millions and millions of views. And I just love to see that dichotomy because I know you treat the word of God very seriously in the pulpit, but outside of the pulpit, pastors are also people and they can also have fun, make jokes, use comedy kind of to their advantage and to also bring blessing to other people, I believe. But this subject for me, I think is going to be the most interesting one at this conference. That's why I wanted to have you on. Comedy is therapy. Now, the T word to some Christians, it might automatically make them get the heebie-jeebies. Therapy, psychology, Christians. So explain to us a little bit. Give us a little intro. For everyone listening right now, this is coming out a week before he's talking about it. So just a little inside scoop, a little preview of what he's going to do at the conference.
Well, I want to be honest. I was very nervous. Two things. One, you mentioned being among all the other speakers. I mean, we've got guys. We've got John Harris, who's going to be there. Conversations That Matter. We've got William Wolfe, who's going to be there. Jake Menzel, Ryan Denton, Michael Foster, of course. It's one of those times, when you say you really don't deserve to be there. I totally feel that way. This is the first thing, but also this subject, I feel so odd because I feel like everybody else is going to be dealing with these things that seem to be the most the most important social issues of our day. And then, here come the clowns, like, I don't know if you remember that. That's but I do.
I'm really quickly, I'm going to respectfully disagree with you, because if you've seen anything in the last 10 years, comedy was on the front lines of fighting the kind of the woke agenda. Comedy is what shifted people's ideas back towards kind of a classical liberalism or a libertarian kind of mindset with freedoms and personal rights. And I'm not saying all comedy in that vein was good or pure or righteous. I'm saying I think comedy is a very important tool that God can use. I think Christ used it if we look through the parables. So I'm gonna respectfully disagree. I think you probably have one of the most important subjects, especially with Gen Y, Gen Alpha. They're looking to comedy for their news. Our president got elected most likely because he went on Joe Rogan and Theo Von, 2 comedy podcasts. That ought to tell you right now how the secular world is using comedy. I like how you're using it for the glory of God. So I think it's very important what you're doing.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, and that's where I was headed. Is while I feel that way, I have this sort of imposter syndrome, like, why am I here? Why am I been invited? That's something that I think a lot of guys struggle with. I really don't deserve to be where I'm at. But like you just said, when I was preparing my talk, and I'm still working on it, but I mean, as I'm preparing my talk, I'm beginning to realize just, this is something that I don't think people realize how important it is. I think people, as Chesterton said, he said, funny is not the opposite of serious. Funny is the opposite of not funny. Right.
Right.
So,
that's a great quote.
So funny is serious business. And that's part of what I'm going to talk about. And you mentioned the word therapy, giving people the heebie-jeebies. I like the phrase comedy is therapy because I don't like real therapy. Like
Right.
I don't like all the, a lot of the secular therapy and the nonsense that's out there and people medicated to the hilt, I think is terrible. But I do think that God has given us as it were, a natural remedy to our malaise, a natural remedy to the struggles of life. And the natural remedy is that a merry heart does good like a medicine, but a wearied spirit or a broken spirit dries the bones, right? That proverb is the main text of my message. And it's a 2-part. It says a merry heart does good like a medicine. And we've always heard the phrase that, laughter is the best medicine. But there's a real truth to that. There's a real sense in which laughter and humor, if a person is devoid of it, if a church is devoid of it, if a family is devoid of it, there's a problem somewhere. The people we laugh with tend to be the people we trust the most.
Yeah.
And if there's no laughter, there's probably a lack of trust.
Yeah, that's so good. Also too, I've noticed that men seem to be able to congregate in groups and kind of build things and do things and get things done. And one of the ways they do that and have cohesion between, you get a group of 5 guys or 10 guys that are working on a project, there will be at some point, unlike women, some type of roasting and joking and kind of putting everyone in their place. And I think that's a really good thing for men, because I'm not saying be mean to be mean-spirited. I'm saying sometimes joking, being jovial, making a joke at someone's expense can also kind of make us introspect, which the Proverbs tell us to do all the time. Like, to tell us, like, who do you think you are, right? Like Ecclesiastes too. You're not this great, perfect person. And I think guys, especially, women, not so much. They're a little more emotional, but guys especially can, and I think this is a good word. There's probably going to be a lot of men at that conference. It's good to look inside and go, what can I correct? Am I too loud? Am I not disciplined in this area? Do I annoy people when I do this because a joke was made or something? Now, that's a very specific type of joke. I'm talking, I'm not talking about one-liners and things like that. But I love what you just said, because I'd never thought of it that way. But comedy is kind of God's prescription to therapy.
Yeah, I really think so. And regarding what you said about men and women, men say mean things to each other that they don't mean, and women say nice things to each other that they don't mean. That's the dichotomy. Men get around each other. Oh, I know, it's like a guy will say to another guy, is like, am I fat? And he says, well, I know 5 fat people and you're 4 of them. So that's the way, that's the way a guy will respond. where a woman will say, no, you're not fat. You just look at you.
You're
You
beautiful.
know,
Yeah,
I
you're perfect.
understand you're wearing a circus tent, but you're wearing it well. You know, I think it's like, that's the difference. And it's just it's so funny.
Sure.
The men and women are so different. Yeah.
I wonder if, and I don't want to get off subject here because we want to get back to what you're going to be speaking about a little bit, but I love having you on and talking about this because comedy really interests me, even from, I enjoy comedy, but even from a philosophical aspect, from a logical aspect, like what is funny? Why do we laugh at certain things? Of course there's timing and punchlines and kind of the mechanics of jokes, but Freud had and I don't subscribe to Freud, but he said we laugh at anything that we're nervous at or we're nervous of, like societal things we fear, things we shouldn't talk about, which I seem to enjoy the most. If we're not supposed to talk about it, theology, politics, and stuff at the dinner table, people like me and you go, well, let's make a podcast about it and talk about all the things we're not supposed to talk about,
like the things that like the thing Tim Waltz likes to eat. I know what you're talking about, exactly what you're talking about, and we won't even tell people what we mean. We'll just leave that where it lies.
They can scour the internet of the live streams going years back and see if they can find it. Yeah. So one, I think what you're doing is very important. Two, I'm interested to see, and you don't give us the whole thing. I want people to come to the conference. It's August 28th through 30th, outside of, I can't remember the exact place it's called, outside of Cincinnati, but
Batavia, right?
Batavia. There you go. Yeah. Weird name. Which it's only a 3.5 hour drive from me. You're coming up pretty far from Florida, but, and I want people to go there. So we'll link up below and you guys can click through and see Keith talk about this, but I want to really see how you link comedy and Christianity, and basically what a great subject for blue collar confessionalism, right? Because if you're going in that blue collar vein too, what gets you through a 10-hour day, pouring concrete or working on the line or, plumbing out a new house or doing construction? It's usually some jokes are going around. We're trying to have a good time. We're trying to use comedy, like you said, as therapy, but it also helps get you through the day. So how are you going to be linking those two? Like, I know the title is Comedy is Therapy, but can you give us a little preview of like, how are we going to get into comedy and Christianity? Because for most Christians, I think those things are two separate things. I think the evangelical church has just given up comedy to the pagans and said, yeah, that's their thing.
And that's part of the problem. So I'll give you I tell you what I'll do. I'll give you my 3 main points. And I again, not the whole message, 45 minutes or so. So this won't be a spoiler or anything, because I think these 3 main points we can talk a little bit about each one of them. The first thing I'm going to address is that laughter is actually a blessing from God. And I'm going to talk about 4 ways that laughter is a blessing. It reflects the image of God in us. It is a way God has given us to heal broken hearts. It's one of the ways that God gives us to resist our own pride. And this is one, like laughing at ourselves. Can we do that? A man who can't laugh at himself is usually insufferable. And and then the 4th way is it helps build community. People don't realize how important, again, this going back to the whole trust thing, how important laughter is in building community and relationships. So it's a blessing from God in those 4 ways. The second thing, comedy is a vehicle for truth. It is one of the ways that God gives us. And this is where I'm really going to go into some scriptures. I'm going to look at some specific places in the Bible that I think are just overly hilarious, but they are incredibly sarcastic. And I'm going to talk about how sarcasm, sardonic words, and words that have bite, but yet are still, when you sit back and think about it, that's really funny. And it might not have been funny in the moment. I look at the situation with R.C. Sproul. I was there when he said, "What's wrong with you people?"
Really?
I was there. Yeah, it was in first.
That's awesome.
It was in Orlando, and at the moment, everybody, like, the air got sucked out of the room. Like, no, like, like, what's wrong with you people, right?
Yeah.
But now we look back at it and laugh because it was hilarious. But in the moment, it was so sarcastic. It was so harsh. And I think about that's the same thing that probably happened when Nathan pointed his finger at David and said, "You are the man."
Yeah.
I mean, we don't think of that as being funny in the moment. It wasn't funny in the moment, but I can imagine, that meme where the guys are all surrounding the one guy and he's standing back and they're all going, "Whoa!" It's like,
yeah,
you're the man. Like, he got nailed. You got it. That moment in David's life he would never forget that, because
Yeah.
it was the most powerful, just right in your face. You're the guy.
Yeah.
You just nailed yourself to the wall, buddy. That moment of clarity
Yeah, and
is,
if you think about it, he's basically setting that up too, right?
yeah,
He tells
it's
the
a
whole
setup and a
parable.
punchline.
It's a
It's a
setup and a
setup and a
punchline. Yeah.
punchline. Yeah.
Huh. Very interesting. I never
And
really
then,
thought about it that way, but you're probably right. Yeah.
yep. And then finally, the third thing. So I said laughter is a blessing from God. Comedy is a vehicle for truth. And then finally, humor should be a consistent presence in a Christian home. And that's where I'm going to drive home this whole blue collar confessionalism idea. Is it's not just for the world stage. It's not just for using it to communicate, but homes without laughter, homes without that joyful sound are homes where something's wrong.
Yeah.
And so
No,
that's
so
and
good.
that and so to pull that in at the end and really challenge fathers and mothers to laugh together, to laugh with their children, to make humor a consistent presence in the home. That's going to be where I drive that in at the end. So I'm hoping it goes well. I like I said, I've thought a lot about it. I've went through it with my wife a lot. She helps me write a lot of stuff when it comes to humor. So she has a very good comedic mind,
Mm.
and so I really hope it goes well.
I'm sure it will. Every time I've heard you speak, it's always went well. And of course, you'll have the podcast boys there in the back row, like the D+ students, hooting and
That's
hollering
right.
and cheering you on. You can be a high and lofty speaker, but us podcast bros are always going to bring you back down to earth when you get behind the curtain there. So
All we
I'm
got to do
kidding.
is go to Buffalo Wild Wings, and we
That's
will.
right.
The ground is level at the foot of the cross. The ground is level at Buffalo Wild Wings.
Well, this reminds me of something you said. So the community aspect of it, right? Like I have always said, in the brotherhood of Christ, there are men that I feel closer to than some extended family that are my blood, that are non-believers, right?
Absolutely.
Because we have this bond of the blood of Christ that runs through us, that binds us together, the understanding of undeserved grace, all these things, right? And then inside of that, the comedy or it's not like we're sitting there doing stand up to each other, but the joking and the jovial and the being able to be open. We all know we're on the same footing of saved by grace. We all pretty much subscribe to the same kind of moral transcendent law that the Lord has put us in. So then when Christians, especially bonded by Christ, and then inside of that use comedy as a binder, I'm telling you that probably the person that I joke with the most is the person I most trust. And I think you just said something like that, to where it's almost you're in a double insulated. You're both brothers in Christ, but then you're inside of this kind of this bubble to where you feel safe. I don't want to sound uber liberal here, but I'm saying safe in the aspect of I understand your intention no matter what you say, right? When you say something to me, whether it's positive or negative, and when I say negative, I don't mean mean, I just mean, you know what I mean? Whether it's sarcastic or it's uplifting, I know the intention. The intention is always good-hearted at the base of it. So it's like this cool thing where comedy, Christ creates the first bond, and then a subset inside of that, comedy can even bring you closer together. And I'm talking within the context of mostly men right now, just in my experiences. Of course, women can share this too, and men and women, and husband and wife, and like you said, the family. But I look at it and I go, man, we as Christians have really forgotten how comedy can create community and trust. And that's really big in our church. So I will say that at my church, our founding pastor, who's now our associate pastor, just, the first time I ever met him, I'm gonna give you a quick story here. This will tell you kind of where I'm at, why I fell in love with my church. I go to a camping trip 3 months, a church camping trip 3 months after I start attending this church. And I'm in the bathroom, in the stall. Okay. Use your imagination what I'm doing. And the pastor and men are coming in and out of the men's showers and you know what I mean? In the bathroom, and everyone's brushing their teeth. And I hear my pastor standing outside and he's just roasting. Oh, Zachary, you call that a beard? What is that? You're never going to get a wife with that. You know what I mean? And he's joking and the guys are laughing. And then I come out and he says something to me. And I went, I think I'm at the right church, because everyone understood he's joking. And then a big hug and I love you, brother, a kiss on the cheek. Man, I love being here camping with you guys. And it was this crazy thing where I realized Oh, I found a person who's a pastor and a mentor of mine who also says, yes, we can use, among men, we can use comedy for community and to show how much we love each other. It doesn't always just have to be, hey, I really appreciate you, I like you. You can use comedy for that. And that's just one aspect of my pastor that I really appreciate. But I went back to Sam and I said, I think we need to be members of this this church based on my interaction in a camping stall bathroom. But you know what I mean? So that like profoundly, I saw how that in everyone at our church, we've now grown to about 700 people and everyone knows each other. Everyone is very open and joking. Everyone is very, hospitality is a big thing. So I think it goes hand in hand with some of those other Christian virtues that we hold so high: love, gentleness, hospitality. And then comedy kind of falls down here. And we just think of it as like some weird thing people, pagans do in nightclubs. And it's like, well, no, it's much bigger than that, isn't it? Just like you're going to explain.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. It's such a powerful tool, such an unused medium. I think Christians think that humor is a weapon for the unrighteous, but no, humor is a weapon for everybody. You just have to pick up the sword, right? It's a weapon that we can all use, a tool we can all use. When I say a weapon, I mean like when you're, engaging culture, it's a weapon, but it's also a tool for good. When I said weapon, maybe that sounded weird from what you said, but you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's so multifaceted. And I think about, like, you're in my experience, we first met in Tullahoma, and to this day, when you and me and Andrew Rappaport are together, we always talk about that night at Buffalo Wild Wings when, we're coming up with the idea for the denominations eating chicken wings, which became one of my biggest videos ever. And you guys, were part of that. And it's all just from guys goofing on each other. I mean,
Yeah.
those nights at the restaurant are what I remember more than the conference itself.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then, shifting and I think about that first Tullahoma too. And I think you're going to be there next month, right? Are you coming down or no?
Yeah, no, I am. I'm
You're
speaking.
right?
I'm speaking there. So I've got Cincinnati. 2 weeks later, I'll be speaking at Tullahoma.
Well, we're going to be hanging out third quarter this year. I'll be there as well. And then, and we'll link that up below too, guys, if you want to click through and get tickets to that. I think James White is going to be doing another debate there, which will be awesome. Love to see those.
With Dale Tuggy. That's going to be an interesting one because that's on the issue of whether or not John 1 teaches that Jesus is God, and so it's pretty important subject.
Which, not to get off track here, but I just saw a post by James White and he was talking about, he's reflecting back on his 200 plus debates. And he said, I'm nearer towards no more debates than I am at the beginning. And I think I'm going to focus on things, doctrinal and theological things that really matter. And I kind of like that, because right now we're kind of seeing a trend of like what's hot and new this week that we can debate, should Christians do X, Y, or Z because the alt-right or the alt-left say this or that. And it's like, boy, I grew up on the James White and the Doug Wilson stuff. And, of the, who it was Christ divine? Who did Jesus say what, like those orthodox beliefs of like what we are as Christians, and then hearing them go up against other cults or, other religions that argue against it. And I'm so happy to see him kind of go back to that. And I think the subject matter at, what is it? Recovery to, or,
Roadmap to Revival.
Roadmap to Revival. I really got to get this down. I'm hosting it, for crying out loud. I don't know who's talking, what the name is. Sorry. Been a long day. So I'm happy he's going back to that as well. But, I wanted to hit on a second point too, and have you talk about it. It conveys truth. I managed, I don't know, at one point, 80 people in about 15 retail stores. And I found a little bit of comedy can go a long way, even in trying to help people along and doing what they need to do at a job. Let alone, I can not only imagine as a pastor who has to deal, like you, has to deal with a lot of serious issues, a lot of issues that are probably ridiculous, right? A lot of issues that are deep and sensitive. And then, of course, there's probably some, issues that you rather enjoy having as a pastor too. But I've got to think, as someone who is, when you step into that pulpit, you're conveying truth. Outside of the pulpit, when you're doing your duties as a pastor, comedy has to come in. As any leader of men or anyone who manages or something, comedy has to be a good tool in your toolbox to help convey truth. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Sometimes the best way to, as you said, engage with a man is to engage with him in a humorous way, but you can still point out things and still deal with things that are very serious, but in a way that's lighthearted rather than, coming with a heavy hand. The Bible says a soft word turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger.
Mm.
And I use that. That's Proverbs 15 v1 or verse 1. I actually teach a seminar called P15 v1, and it's a seminar. I do this for personal protection because I know I teach karate and self defense classes. P15 v1, Proverbs 15 verse 1 is the basis for that class, and it's how to address people in a when you're in a confrontation or a difficult, dangerous situation. How to use your words. And oftentimes it's a soft word or a funny word or a jovial word that is what's needed, versus guys who just don't know how to use anything but a heavy hand. They don't know how to do anything but as the authority, and the only thing they're going to, the only thing they want is to hear yes sir.
Yeah.
We most men don't respond well to that.
When I've heard that verse, as a Christian, we've heard it 10,000 times, right? Soft answer turns away wrath. And just now, when you just said it, I went, man, I'd love to do a word study on what soft means, because I think a lot of people interpret that as like submissive and
Yeah.
like quiet. You know what I mean? Like some guy's yelling at you and you're supposed to be, okay, yes, yes, okay. And I'm wondering if that soft word, like I said, I don't have a Bible in front of me or a concordance, but I would love to look at that and go, I wonder if that's more saying, like you said, in the broader sense of a word that is well received, right? A word that is soft in the sense of like, it's not a hard word to kind of get, because you're saying harsh. So the opposite of that would be soft. But I kind of read it that way too. Like I've had many de-escalation things in my life where someone is just amped up, and you can kind of the soft reply to that to de-escalate that is, it could be a little bit joking, could be a little jovial. It's obviously, it can be a little submissive as well too. Hey, let's figure out what's going on. But I've seen that come true. The de-escalation that Proverbs is prescribing there worked many, many times in my life, including something that could be comedic.
Oh yeah.
So yet just another tool. All right. As we get on the back half of this episode, I got to bring up, for those who are listening who might not know Keith, but I'm sure they do, because my famous story is I'd been going to every Fight Laugh Feast, I think for 6 years, 5 years. Everyone knows me there. I show up with Keith for the first time there, and they go, "Oh, hey, Greg." And then they look over and they go, "Keith, can I get a cell phone picture? Can I get a selfie with you?" And I went, "Oh, I'm chopped liver at my own conference because I'm standing next to your Calvinist Keith Foskey." No, I didn't say that, but I just loved how they embraced you. And so many people that I didn't think watch your videos. My cousin, who's not even a believer, who I've been witnessing to for a long, long time. "Oh, you know that Keith Foskey guy? I see his stuff on TikTok. It's kind of funny. Is the denominations really like?" Because I've kind of know. And it opened up all this conversation, right? I'm not kidding you, man. It's kind of crazy how you can use in the inside baseball guys get some of the inside baseball stuff you're doing with the denomination stuff. But the non-believer, or the one who maybe has a head knowledge of Christ, but maybe not saved yet, or someone who grew up in church and has turned away, or those who are deconstructing, or all walks of life, look at those skits, those videos. There's truth in them. They're funny, but they're pointing to something deeper. Have you had any experiences from your videos moving someone into something deeper just by watching your video? I'm sure you've gotten feedback on that.
Yeah, and it's funny because we do get, we get different kinds of feedback because I put out serious and funny material, but it's
Yeah.
always wild when I get stuff from the funny that seems to be meaningful.
Right.
People who will say, I never realized this about this denomination, but I began to look into it, and hey, you're right, or something. And I know it sounds
Yeah.
like a small thing, but and one of the things so many people say to me, they'll say, I came to you because you were funny, but I stayed because I saw that you knew what you were talking about. Like
Yeah.
that's a huge compliment,
That makes sense.
because it's the funny is it really does help point them to the things that maybe aren't as funny. I mean, I try to be funny all the time, but the things that aren't as funny, and yet it's still working, and the channel's doing better than it ever has. So I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah, and we're gonna link it up below. They can click through. I'm sure most of everyone listening knows the channel, but we'll make sure they can click on it, watch those videos. I think they're great. And like you said, you do serious and funny stuff. I've always thought that is probably one of the hardest balancing acts, especially as a pastor. I'm not one, but I would just have to say, as a pastor, you can either be too funny and then you're not taken seriously, and he thinks he's a stand-up. Look at this guy. Or too dry, not understand comedy, and people are going, man, I could not even get through anything he was talking about, whether in the pulpit or outside. And it's like, it's this weird balance. And then from your peers, right? There's other pastors that I've talked to that are like, there should be nothing funny when you step into a pulpit. And you're like, well, hold on. It's not like we're making fun of Christ or something, but you can be jovial when when you're preaching the gospel. And then there's other pastors that, they think they are stand-up comics, and it's 40 minutes of their routine and in one Bible verse that isn't exegeted. So there's a balance there. How has that been with people, your peers and people even within your church when you're trying to balance those two things? Because I feel like growing up, they weren't supposed to go together. I just thought like pastors are supposed to be serious and wear a suit and tie, and they wear a suit and tie to bed. I thought growing up, right? They're never, heaven forbid you ever catch your pastor in a pair of jogging pants.
The hair is always perfectly coiffed, or whatever that word is. I can't. Yeah. Look like Jack Van Impe all the time.
Right.
No, I honestly, there are times where it can be a struggle because people who don't know me, have never heard of me, and they'll hear me say something that's funny, or him, like 2 weeks ago, I did Doug Wilson was interviewed by CNN. And so my wife and I did the parody interview. I don't know if you saw it, but it was ESPN, the Ocho, ESPN 8, the Ocho. We're taking stuff from dodgeball. We're taking stuff from everything and just making this completely stupid. It was all dumb. We filmed it in 30 minutes. It was just the dumbest thing. But
your wife was good in that, by the way.
No, she was great, but it was so silly. I'm in shorts. I didn't even mean for that to happen, but I had a full body shot and I didn't realize I was wearing shorts with my suit. And everybody's like, Foskey's in shorts. Look at them legs. I'm like, that wasn't even supposed to be part of the funny, but whatever.
You're like, buddy, it's August in July. August in Florida.
Florida.
Yeah.
But it's so funny because I got a few people who really because I said at one point, Jennifer said something and I said, well, you don't understand that because you're a woman. And of course I'm mocking the joke that patriarchy people don't respect women, right? Yes. Well, you don't understand that, you're a woman. And there were people who didn't know me, who didn't realize that's not what I really think, and that's the struggle that I have had is there are people I've been accused of being vain. That's been a tough one because people will say, well, you just love your face. You just love your voice. You just record yourself all the time. You're just out there trying to get attention for yourself. You smile into the camera and you're just, you're vain. And I'm like, dude, if you got this face, this is one thing that's not vanity is not my problem. I promise I may have some sinful issues, but the fact that I do not,
right.
Narcissist looked into the water, saw his face, fell in love, and that ain't me.
Right.
But those are struggles, right? Because people who don't know you will assume things about you.
That's going to be every person on the internet
absolutely
that records anything too, though, right? So, sometimes I get that too. I'll go back on my YouTube comments. I think I just did 2 weeks ago and I had to catch up on 3 years worth because I don't read them. And I was like, I'll just go look. I saw a notification come up. And some of them I feel bad because they're asking a real question and I could point them towards something and I'm responding 2 years later. But most of them are just, go gadget heretic or whatever it is, snarky that they're saying. And I just went, that's the sinful nature, right? Is to demean. But everyone, I don't know one person that I know that is even on social media, even if you're not a podcaster, pastor, content creator, go look, Facebook's been around for 15 years. People would post something and there's comments underneath and they're just vile. And you go, at some point you go, yeah, nothing's going to change if I take your opinion into account or not. Like, my day will go on tomorrow, no matter what. So I'm just happy for you that it's just like that's outside of your control, right? If someone wants to assume something and not actually look you up and see what you're about and see what you're doing, preaching and speaking and doing a podcast and videos that are characters, that's not your fault, right?
No,
that's on them, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking more too of like making sure. I would think it would be a struggle, as it is with me, just speaking, knowing that this is being recorded, making sure that I'm reflecting Christ in my actions, thoughts, and speech within the realms of comedy. Because I feel sometimes with me, comedy can get me to go to a place where maybe I shouldn't. And I've never seen you do that. I'm saying naturally would want to get something that's a little off-putting or something that we shouldn't speak about. So I know that I love the fact that I can look to your comedy, and this is a whole nother thing. I know I'm rambling here, but I hate most Christian comedy because it's lazy and it's not funny. Your stuff is clean and funny. And I look to the guys like Nate Bargatze. I look to the guys like back in the day, Jim Gaffigan. I look to some of these guys who Jerry Seinfeld, even to some aspect in his stand-up, obviously in interviews and stuff, he can get a little filthy, but they have comedy that's clean. And it's really good. It's like quality. And that's what you're doing. So I'm giving you that as a compliment. And I think you were just at a Nate show, weren't you? Or
Yeah, I
something?
got to go see Nate Bargatze with my good friend Richard Roden,
Yeah.
and he bought me tickets, which was very nice. So shout out to him. He called me and said, "We're going to see Nate Bargatze." I was like, "Yay!" So it was really cool. We were in the highest seats. Let me tell you a quick story. We were in the Jacksonville Arena. It was sold out. Nate Bargatze sold more tickets than any other comedian in the history of the arena in Jacksonville, which is awesome. We're at the very top of these. I mean, the seats are like on a 45-degree angle, like they're like maybe even more. Well, a lady above us trips a little bit and she lets her bottle of water slip out of her hand and it falls like 3 or 4 rows down and whacks a lady 3 so we had this lady fall out because of a bottle of Dasani, the world's worst bottled water, hits
Right.
her. I mean, if you're going to die, I would rather die with, some Zephyr Hills, but she got it with this, and she's just laying there like knocked cold by this Dasani hit her in the head.
Was it
And
a
her
full bottle?
It was a full bottle of water, and
And
we don't know what to do. You can't get a stretcher on this like terrible incline. Do we go help her up? Her boyfriend's picking her up. I mean, it was one of those moments where it's not funny because somebody's hurt, but at the same time, it's like,
well, yeah.
it's like I can't wait till she leaves so I can laugh.
Well, yeah, you always hope they're okay, but you go, because it's like, what are the odds of that too? I mean, going down,
out of nowhere to get hit in the head with a bottle of water was wild.
Well, look, as we finish up here, I'll say this too. Isn't it funny that some of the most watched videos and popular comedians are those that do smart comedy that aren't necessarily dirty? I mean, the top selling, outside of Andrew Dice Clay, in the 80s, you look at top selling comedians, you look at even within your vein of what you're doing, millions and millions of views. It's this weird thing where even unbelievers want to, they don't want a shortcut to something that's funny. They don't want cuss words and dirty language. They want it to be smart and intelligent, ironical, make them go, I never thought of that. Right. You look at the Nate Bargatzes, like I said, the Jim Gaffigans, the Jerry Seinfelds, what you're doing on your shorts. And you go, I think people kind of have started to realize, because the clean comic kind of thing, and I know you've dabbled and are doing some stand-up yourself, the clean comic kind of trend has been gaining steam over the last 3 to 5 years. Oh, you don't mean I have to go on stage and drop this cuss word and talk about this sexual thing, and right? Like, audiences are smarter than that. And to me, I love it, because I love a really intelligent comedy to go, oh wow, what an angle that person came at that from. I would have never thought of it that way, but he is right. You know what I mean? So I like where you're at too with your stuff. And I think that's not only you're a funny guy, but it's like smart. You know what I mean? It's like, it's intelligent, and people go, yeah, I come away with something other than just a bunch of diss stuff and, you know, filthy stuff that most comics kind of ride out a halfway career on.
Yeah, and it is harder. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
because there are times, and you asked a minute ago, you said something about writing the line. How do we keep the line? This is one of the things that's great about having my wife help me write material, because she has a little bit more sensitive disposition than I do to things. And there'll be times when I write a joke and she'll just say, you know what, that may go over the line. You know,
Yeah.
if it's tickling my conscience, maybe we need to back. I had a real, I tell you one, you're like, well, why are you telling me you're not supposed to say it? No. But just like last week, I had a joke about Michael Tate from DC Talk. You
Yeah.
know what happened with him.
Sure.
And I was writing Church Soup, and I had talked about the new Jesus Christ Superstar, and how it had that lady who played, the lady who was in Wicked played.
Ugh.
And I
Yeah.
thought, well, who would be worse to play Jesus? Probably Michael Tate, right? Like that was the joke.
Yeah.
And just, and not because of what happened with him, you know, with all that stuff.
Sure.
And my wife said, you know what? It's just, it does have a funny, but that's also something that's real, and something that, you know, we maybe not want to do that. Like I'm talking to you and to your
Yep.
audience, and, you know, this
No,
is,
that
but
I
I thought that
appreciate you being real about that. I mean,
that
that's
was
a real
smart.
conversation you have to
That
have.
was
Yeah.
smart of her to say, hey, that may not be the best thing to joke about right now. Like that, you know, what's going on with that.
Look
And
at everyone who has, and we'll finish up here, but everyone who has kind of this drive for comedy needs that person in their life, because at the end of the day, you will do what you need to do for the laugh, because it's so good when someone laughs at something and you make them joyful by something you say. And it's so hard not to go, oh, I got to pull back on
I
that.
can go further. I can make it funnier.
I can keep going. You know what I mean? Because you know you got it, and you know it's going to be funny and right. But then, like you said, like, we got to keep other people's. I mean, he had just had that, you know, kind of confession and asked for repentance and said this and that, and you go, okay, I could see that. I could totally see that conversation and going, oh, but I had such a good thing for that, you know. And your Church Soup is hilarious anyway. Give us a rundown real quick as we get out of here. What are all the active things, sub channels and channels you're doing right now? Because you've got a pretty good, if you go over to Keith Foskey on YouTube, you've got a pretty good, like, kind of like subset of genres of stuff you're doing.
Yeah.
Because you do the golf cart stuff still.
It's all, yeah, but it's all on my channel. So these are
Okay.
all, I have them set up as playlists on the channel. So that's how, if you want to find a specific thing, like if you want all Church Soup, I think we have 25, 30
Right.
episodes of church. I do that about once a month, and I've been doing that for a couple of years. So we're looking at, you know, 2 years worth of Church Soup. I've got denominational videos going back a couple of years. I do those about once a month. And we're working on right now, the denominations play softball. That's my big, like, I've been trying to do that all summer. It's just been so hot, and I haven't really felt like going outside and wearing all those outfits in the sun. So I'm going to wait until, we're going to say fall ball. The denomination is going to play fall ball. You know,
That's good.
But so just, you know, if you want serious stuff, we have that as well. Our podcast every Tuesday night, we answer questions, and sometimes we answer up to 20 to 25 live questions on the show. We do a 2-hour podcast every Tuesday night. Wow. And it's become one of the most popular things that we do. We have people that come every Tuesday night and sit with us for 2 hours while we answer questions. And I remember years ago, I used to listen to Hank Hanegraaff, the Bible Answer Man.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to think, boy, I would love to do that one day. I would love to just sit and let people ask questions about the Bible and about ministry and answer questions. And God has opened that door in such a unique way. And so I'm thankful for that. And it's not always funny. That's not meant to totally be funny, but sometimes it is. So, you know, come join us for a live on Tuesday night. We love it. 9 to 11 on Tuesdays is when we're doing that. And then, of course, if you're very serious about wanting to learn, we also have an online academy. Our church offers free, we call it Seminary for Everyone, and it doesn't cost you a dime. And there's 8 core classes, everything from Old Testament to New Testament survey to apologetics to church history, and it's all free, and it's all available at sovereigngraceacademy.org. And I've been pushing that hard lately, because we're doing a rollout this week of all of our classes are available at any time. You don't have to start with the live classes. So I'm really proud of what we're doing there.
And if someone's down in Florida, where do they come visit you at if they'd like to stop in and visit your church on a Sunday?
Sovereign Grace Family Church is in Jacksonville, and we're 10 minutes from the airport. So if you find Jacksonville International Airport, we're 10 minutes from that.
There you go. All right. We'll link that all up too, so people can click through. Keith, I will see you next week. Blue Collar Confessionalism. You're going to be speaking. I know it's going to be a great time. Great talk that you give. Looking forward to everyone there. Thanks for hanging out with us for a little bit.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, Greg. I appreciate it.
All right. Appreciate you, brother. Love you. All right. Thanks for listening to another episode of Dead Men Walking Podcast. Jeez, I can't get the words out of my mouth. It's been a long day already. Going to be another long one tomorrow. But we appreciate you guys sharing with a friend, giving us constructive criticism, feedback, commenting. That's how we grow. That's how we glorify God. We do this organically. By the grace of God, we will never be behind a paywall. We will come to you every week with a guest or myself free of charge. Guys, remember, the chief end of man is to glorify God and enjoy him forever. God bless. Be sure to check us out at dmwpodcast.com, where you can purchase the best and snarkiest merch on the internet, support the show, and leave us a review or message. Dead Men Walking can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Dead Men Walking Podcast, and on Twitter X at Real DMW Podcast. The Dead Men Walking Podcast is part of the Fight Laugh Feast Network. For exclusive show content, be sure to download the PubTV app and become a member. If you're a business that needs to reach hundreds of thousands of potential customers in your demographic, podcast advertising might be for you. Send all inquiries to deadmenwalkingpodcast@gmail.com.
None your biscuit.